StyleX, Meta's solution to scalable CSS by Jack Harrington. So Facebook has recently came up with a CSS solution named StyleX, and I guess this is going to be a good post about why did they come with it if we already have Tailwind CSS, Bootstrap, etc. Now I'm a backend developer, so I'm more interested in the why they came with this app rather than the technicalities of styling. So I hope this would provide this means. So understanding what problems Facebook faced with CSS will help us understand more about the design decisions behind StyleX. 3 years ago, the folks behind Facebook design system components were faced with a problem. They were doing a complete React rewrite of the entire web frontend of Facebook, and they needed a way to handle the CSS. So if you're doing a complete rewrite, you rewrite your code, your frontend code, and you also have all the CSS. How do you convert them? Do you need to convert them, right? This is a struggle that a lot of big projects and companies face. There are so many options, build time versus runtime, CSS versus CSS declared in JavaScript. Okay, so these are the considerations. Are they going to declare the CSS in JavaScript or not, build time or runtime, and whether or not to go with the utility first system like Tailwind, whether to go completely with Tailwind and dump everything that we have so far. What Facebook decided to do was to build a new CSS platform, a third pillar to their application architecture. GraphQL and Relay handle the data, React handles the DOM, and now StyleX would handle the styling. Plus, they wanted this new CSS system to learn from the mistakes of the past. Facebook's previous architecture was similar to CSS modules. However, this approach had scaling problems. To combat the scaling problems, they runtime loaded the CSS as needed, but lazy loading could selector precedent issues where navigating the site through different routes would load the CSS in different order, producing unexpected styling. StyleX fixed that by providing deterministic resolution where you are always guaranteed to get the styling you want. To understand the value of this deterministic solution, let's start with a simple button. Okay, so now they're getting deep inside the problem. I hope that StyleX solves more problem than this ordering for sure. But maybe this was one of the main pain points that StyleX solves and others do not. A StyleX button. Let's take a look at an example of a StyleX button component. So we have here import as StyleX from StyleX. Now we have the styling of the button with StyleX.create. So we see it's a JavaScript notation here. We now export this button. And when we return, this is like a React thingy. When we return the snippet of the button, then we have here the StyleX props style base. First off, the styles are co-located right with the component that uses them, which is a big win from DX developer experience and code readability. So if we look at the both snippet, both the styling and the code were at the same place. So I think over the years we have gone circles. At the beginning, we defined the CSS inside the HTML. Then we separated it, and now we bring it back together in the component. The developer experience and code readability standpoint, if you like the emotion style of writing CSS, but you still get compile time CSS wins that you don't get with a runtime system like emotion. Okay, so we write them together and it's in build time because the component is at build time. Unfortunately, you don't get that real tailwind ease of use if you want to use these shorthand styles, though there is support for design tokens, and you could create those shorthands if you want. However, what we lose with not having the tailwind shorthand, we gain in control over styling. Control over styling. The problem with using Tailwind as a basis for your component system is allowing for a controlled refinement of the styling. Let's say that we want to allow consumers of a button to only change the color and background color of our button. With Tailwind component, you could have specific props for that. But that wouldn't scale if you wanted folks to be able to adjust more than just a few styles. So what some authors allow for is an extra class property where you can add whatever you like, but then you can change whatever you like without restriction, which makes components hard to version later. So apparently, Tailwind they had this issue where you could allow people to override properties, but it was not scalable. You could have 2 properties, 3 properties, and then you had the other extreme of allowing everything. So let's see the solution of StyleX. StyleX has a fantastic solution for this. So as we see, they're solving a couple of problems with StyleX. Maybe it's a big problem in the front end, and solving these is a big thing, right? Maybe not. Import type StyleX. So here we have export default function, on click on children, read only, button style pops. We've added another property called style. Where is it? Style. With 2 properties, background color and color. Style and constrain it to just the styles we want to be able to override. And because we put style after style space in the StyleX props call, you can be guaranteed that the override styles will appropriately override the base styles. From my perspective, what do I think so far about StyleX? I think it looks like, because it was created in the same place where React is created, it looks like it nicely couples with it. It nicely goes hand in hand with React. So if you use React, my guess is that StyleX is going to be good for you because as the creators of React, they have created StyleX, and we already see that it's going hand in hand and not like a separated framework. So this is my conclusion. My conclusion is that StyleX is going to be good, assuming it's going to be adopted widely, because it goes hand in hand with React. So if you use React, you would probably, in the future, want to use StyleX. See how much more, but the disadvantage of this is that what will happen is that you'll get deeper and deeper and deeper into React, and farther and farther and farther away from the original world, right? You're getting inside the loop, and you get farther and farther away from the actual HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and server. See how much more control we have over styling. This means that we can version button with confidence because we have clear boundaries around what CSS can and cannot be changed. This is how it looks to use our button when we want to override styling. Button styles, and we just override it. It's very clear what we are changing, and TypeScript enforces that we can only override the styles that the component creators intended us to override, design token and themes. Being able to override styling at a granular level is great, but any reasonable design system needs to support for design tokens and theming, and StyleX has excellent typesafe support for both of those. Let's start by defining some tokens. Tokens? So button token, StyleX define vars, BG color, true, blue, text color. So it looks like, I wouldn't call it enum, but it looks like some const or variables that maybe they can reuse in the styling. Notice that we can use names like BGColor instead of being restricted to specific CSS attributes. We can then map this token into our button like this. Just a minute. Yeah, so here background color, button tokens dot BGColor. Great, so we have constants. So now we are creating the styles for our button based on the combination of hard-coded values like border width and themed value like color, which is based on the text color design token. We also support using that theme by adding a theme property and using it as the basis of our styles props. On the consumer side, we can create a theme using create theme and basing that theme on the button tokens. We do a create theme and base it on the token. BG color. You can even use an object syntax to specify the theme values based on the media queries. For example, in this case, in dark mode, we invert the button colors. Okay, I think we get the hang of it. Conditional. So, conditional and dynamic styles. I think we get the hang of what StyleX means to us. Conclusion. The net result of building StyleX and then using it as a key component at Facebook Home React rewrite was that the site ran around 130 kilobyte of CSS to start. While that might seem like a lot, that CSS covered every feature of every route the browser loads, that once it is done, no more loading or other issues. After 3 years of development that is now up to 107 kilobytes, when you think about the number of developers features, the trend there is impressive. StyleX has been in use at Facebook for 3 years and it is battle hardened. Now it is making its way into open source where you can take advantage of all the work and experience that gone into it. I'm sure many of you will dismiss StyleX because it's not as off-the-shelf easy to use as Tailwind. I don't deny that that is the case, but in my opinion, these two incredibly powerful systems, Tailwind and StyleX, are meant for opposite ends of the spectrum. I see Tailwind as having a lot of value for small teams working rapidly, more than likely without the design system outside perhaps some color spacing and breakpoint values. StyleX is designed to support much larger project teams and even groups of teams. StyleX provides us invaluable tooling at this end of the spectrum. I am very appreciative of that. I've worked in large companies and building a design system across teams is neither easy nor well understood. It's great to see Meta bringing a new tool at that end of the spectrum into open source. It's very much appreciated. Okay, great. So we have seen StyleX, and I think my conclusion makes sense. My conclusion is that if you're using React, it's going to go hand in hand with it, right? And it's solving a couple of edge cases, like build them versus runtime, solving some overriding issues. It's solving some give me some common functionality in variables. It's solving some let's expose this so that the end developer can override this property. And it's battle proven, they say in Facebook. So it goes hand in hand. If you work with React, you have the time to learn StyleX. Sounds like a good thing. Let's see the adoption on the community. On its surface, it looked to me like it's going to be highly adopted. I think the war in between HTMX, the server-side rendering, and React has just begun, and let's see what the future will show us.